that Saturn's returning. Saturn's spinning through. Saturn's turning you. Saturn spirals through. Saturn shaking you. And you can't be the you thought you were before.
Well, hello. Welcome to the bathroom. You know what the bathroom means. Bathroom means that it is time for another episode of HeadCase ManGlam. So today, we're base jumping. And what I mean by that is, we're going to be doing the 101s of Foundation for Men. So let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. So there's a couple of fundamental differences between men wanting to wear a foundation and women wanting to wear a foundation. There's some similarities, but there's more differences than there are similarities. So the number one thing that we want to take into account is if you hear construction, I can't help it. They're just doing it. Drill hits. It's great. I apologize. So, namely what a woman is trying to do in theory is even out the skin tone, make the appearance brighter, and lay a good foundation, literally, on which to build contour, bronzer, eyeshadow, lipstick, the whole 9 yards, blush. And for men, what we really want to do in this particular episode, and for a vast number of guys that I've spoken to, is how to use foundation and or concealer to enhance the way that we look. So to cover up things that maybe bug us a little bit, but not to look made up, not to look heavy, and they want it to be unclockable. So that's fairly easy to do in theory, and in practice, once you find the right foundation color, then it's usually pretty easy from there. So what I'm going to be focusing on in this video is the only thing I can, which is my particular face. So when I look at my face, I see that my face is quite a different color than my neck and chest, certainly different to my hand. And when you go to find a foundation color to match you, most people are going to want to swatch here, sort of from the jawline onto the neck, which is all well and good. But what if you have a beard? And like for me, I've got now 3 days of growth. This is 3 days of growth for me. One of life's little fuckovers. But 3 days worth of growth. So I've left this here to show you that you can actually go over a good day or two of stubble without worrying about foundation getting trapped in your facial hair or looking odd when you're done. But when you have a full beard, we don't really care about the skin that's underneath here, unless you can sort of see it poking through, in which case there's ways around that. But I'm going to do another foundation video when I've got my beard back, so I can show you how to take foundation through it correctly and clean up anything so that you don't look like you're wearing makeup throughout your beard. So this is sort of more for the clean shaven or for the stubbly dudes. But still, pay attention, because most of the basics are going to be here for when we do it with a beard. So ultimately, when it comes down to foundation choices for men, we don't want to be matching this section of our skin. We want to be matching this portion of our face. So, like I said, this has nothing to do with this. or this. And if I tried to make this color, I would look dead. Not only would I look dead, but it'd also look kind of gray. Because what I'm trying to cover up here is mottled skin, red. I've got loss of pigmentation here, and then not even hyperpigmentation, it's more vascular damage. So it's the blood vessels that run just underneath my skin. Those are the things that have been blown out by the sun. So I have some discoloration here, some sort of vague hyperpigmentation. And I did used to have quite a patch of hyperpigmentation here, almost looked like dark freckles. My face always looked dirty, but I did a series of fairly assertive chemical peels on myself, which helped clear that out nicely. But what I'm left with now is this redness, the mottled texture, and it's not texture in terms of feel, it's texture in terms of appearance. So what I want to do is even that out. Now I could go for a really sheer, liquidy, watery, dewy kind of finish or foundation, but that's not going to have enough pigment in it, enough oomph to actually even out the skin tone. So I need to go for something that's called medium coverage. So if you have a fairly good even skin tone with maybe just little bits of redness around your nose, or maybe you flush a little too easily, so you want to knock that down a bit, you could probably go for something that's very light, very fluidy. But what you want to be doing is matching this portion of your face. My best suggestion for you is to head into somewhere like Sephora, or if you're in the States, Ulta as well. We don't have Ulta in Canada, but Sephora is the best place to go, because not only can you swatch, you can literally take some foundation, put a little on your back of your hand, and do a swipe. You can also, if you narrow it down, so I would say go in, talk to a product consultant at Sephora, tell them what you're trying to do. You want to cover this, you want it to be natural, blah, 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 and they'll help you. They'll help you narrow down the products and the finishes that you're looking for, and they will give you samples, and that is so important. They're little tiny plastic samples that'll get you at least 2 or 3 applications for you to see how you like it, and you can try it on a day where you don't have to go anywhere. And that's the best way to narrow down. You'll see, oh, that's so close, but I think I need a shade up, or maybe I need a shade down. It's very important that when you swatch it on your skin, you walk away. It's like trying fragrance. You spritz it on yourself and then you walk away. You don't instantly put your nose to it. I mean, you can, you go, that's kind of nice. Let's see what it does when it dries down. It's the same thing with foundation. You want to put it on and leave it alone for at least an hour. That might be pushing it. Let's say half an hour. Because it's like paint. When you put it on, the color that it goes on when it's fresh is not the color it's going to be when it settles. So sometimes most times foundations will dry down a little bit deeper. Sometimes they actually dry down lighter, which is also kind of fascinating. And sometimes they stay exactly the same. What we want to do is get in the realm of they stay pretty much exactly the same. I hear a lot of beauty YouTubers talk about foundation oxidizing. Foundation doesn't oxidize. If you mean, does it evaporate? Sure it does, but it dries down. And then what happens is the natural moisture and the oils from your skin will come into play and could darken the foundation a little bit more. So that's why those patch tests are so important, for you to get an idea of what happens to that color after you've left it alone for a while. Because it doesn't matter if it goes on looking great, if 20 minutes later you're gonna look like you've been in Morocco for a year and a half. So it really is important to spend the time to sample, because foundations get expensive real fast. I would say that for your first experiments with foundation, do the Sephora route until you get an idea of what your tones and undertones are. And we'll talk about that a little bit here, but that is a whole conversation in and of itself. So for me, if you look at my neck and my shoulders, you'll see that I have a combination of colors going on. I've got some pinks and sort of pinky, peachy colors, and then there's little bits of gold. And so I would be what is called a neutral skin, generally. So I'm not too pink and I'm not too yellow. I'm kind of in between the two. So I'm neutral. But on my face, I'm not neutral. I am definitely, while I'm a fair skin tone, my face would be considered a medium or a medium light medium in that realm. But I actually err more towards the medium simply because of the amount of tone that I have on my skin. So because there's so much of this that I need to cover and even out, it doesn't make sense to go for the lightest shade on my face, because again, that's going to make me look washed out. I'm then going to need to use bronzers and sometimes blushes to make it look more lifelike. You can do all of those things if you want to, but for today's video, I'm going to be using a foundation that matches my skin tone close enough that I don't need to do anything to it. I don't need to set it with powder. I don't need to add bronzer to make it look like skin or have any dimension. And I don't need to use concealer. Although, will I use concealer? I might not, because it really depends. If I can get the coverage that I need, then I won't worry about it. So when we're looking at my face, the predominant color that we're looking at really is reds, purples, that kind of tone. Then there's also some sort of brownish spots, which are still just the remnants of the sun damage. And then I have sort of clusters of like strips of this stuff, and that drives me nuts. The two biggest things that age a person in terms of appearance is texture and color. So the more sunspots and freckles that you've got combined with gravity starts to make you look older than you are. Likewise, if you have a more leathery skin where there's carved in lines and wrinkles, that will age you as well. So I'm lucky in that I don't have a super amount of lines and wrinkles to worry about, although a poorly picked foundation will show you all of your wrinkles and all of the lines that you have on your face. So again, this is what's so important about trying before you buy. And Sephora is one of the only places I know that is happy, willing, ready, and able to give you a sample of a product in order to try it. And you can do as many as you want, but I would say limit it to 3, just 3. Because then that gives you enough to play with. You might be able to combine the two, see if sort of a light coverage and a medium coverage are working for you, or do you need something fuller? And we'll go into, when we do the beard video, we'll talk more about a fuller coverage, because then that sort of covers off our textures. So to start, the most important thing that you're going to do with preparing for makeup is your skincare. It is the single most important thing that you can do. Because if the foundation, the true literal building block foundation of your face is not in the right shape, makeup is gonna sit like shit on your face and look terrible. Your makeup looks terrible. But I love you anyway. So skincare is so very, very, very important. Now, I've already done a video about my daytime skincare routine. Was it my daytime? Yeah, I did. I put sunscreen on in that. So we've already covered that. I'll link that below. If you didn't see it, then you'll be able to go back and see my sort of skincare routine, complete with shaving head, shaving face. But what I do on sort of a normal day is slightly different if I'm going to be wearing a foundation. So everything is sort of the same. I rinse my face in the morning, I don't wash it. Then I apply my vitamin C serum. Then I apply my, there's a light salicylic acid serum that I use just in my T-zone to help control my rosacea, puffiness, and any action that I might be getting. I've got a little breakout there, but that's because I shaved. Then I put on a hyaluronic acid serum, which is very plumping. And then moisture spritz, and then a very, very, very light moisturizer. And really just around the circumference of my face, because my center point doesn't need any help. And as you can see, I'm dewy. Yes, I'm dewy. I'm also ever so slightly sticky. I'm not flypaper, but I'm a little sticky, and that's perfect. That's where we want your skin to be. So you could prime, or you don't have to prime. Nikki Tutorials, another creator on this channel, says not to prime is a crime. But I don't necessarily agree with her. If you have dilated pores or very noticeable pores within your T-zone or on your nose, sometimes priming, I have a cat hair on me, sometimes priming is helpful. So today I am going to do priming. I'm going to show you two different types of primers, and you can sort of figure out which one might be better for you. So the first one that I'm going to be using is by Beauty Blender, and it's called the Leveler. And it's in the stupidest packaging known to mankind. It is so difficult to get out of the bottle. I don't know why they made it that difficult to get out. But there we go. I'm going to use about a fat pea-sized amount. Struggle to get the lid back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this on this side of the face. Or will I? No, I'll use it on this side of the face. All right, so I'm going to take that little schmear, and this is a flesh-toned color. It's in the shade light medium. And what I'm going to do is swipe it just along my most what's the word? Dilated pore side. And then I'm just going to sweep it out. Now, if your big thing is you don't like your oily skin, then something like this might be perfect for you, and you leave it there. So what this does is it mattifies the skin and also adds a light film across the surface. So what that helps is for the foundation to hold on to it. It helps your makeup last longer, in theory. And this will also help control some of the oils that will start to seep up. It helps to disperse them so that they're not eating your foundation as quickly as possible. So that's that. It doesn't get much more complicated than that. Now the next one is more spackle. This is by Tarte, and it's called the Timeless Smoothing Primer Base. And it really is spackle. It's like a wax, but it's quite good. So I take a little smear of it on my middle finger. And then what I'm going to do is literally press it into the pores and anywhere that I want to smooth. And again, This is a fabulous thing for guys if you just want something that is going to smooth the skin surface and make it look a little bit more airbrushed. So you can see right there that it's knocked down the shine and there's a light film, but it's not really detectable at all. Certainly nobody looking at you would notice it. But what it does, again, just mattifies and it smooths that top layer so that when we put the foundation on, it's not as apt to sink into the pores and leave them looking empty, so that it emphasizes texture. That's what we don't want. Okay, then we move on to foundation. We don't need to wait in between these things before putting them on. You just want to get them on there, give them a chance to settle for a second. And then for my foundation today, I'm going to be using the best skin ever. It's a Sephora house brand. This blew me away. The price is unbeatable. The coverage is a light medium, buildable, which is also important. It is long wearing, self-setting, has a natural skin-like finish, and it's just an all-around great formulation. Very, very nice. I was really, really surprised. So you can apply your foundation, one moment please, a million ways. In a million ways. Whew, that's chilly. Brisk, refreshing. So you can apply your foundation a billion different ways. So you can use a beauty blender or beauty sponge. You just wet them. You do not use them dry. Don't use them dry. You'll find them extremely aggressive on your skin. So we can use a beauty blender or a beauty sponge. This one is a Real Techniques sponge. You can get Real Techniques brushes and tools and sponges at Walmart here in Canada very easily. So yes, you can use a beauty sponge. You can use a foundation brush. I do love this brush very much. This is from Sigma. It is their F47 Multitasker. You can use little brushes like this Real Techniques 421 brush. This is their soft accent brush, but this is great for doing up under the eyes or around the nose. But the same thing with that other brush, the Sigma brush. It also goes under there very well, and it gets a lot of area done. You can also use your fat mitts, your fonges. You can use these. So what I'll do is use my fingers on this side of my face for coat one, and then I'll use the brush on this side of the face. With your fingers, you tend to use less product because you're doing more strategic covering. But sometimes strategic covering ends up being an inconsistent coverage. I have a cat hair. It's the problem, there we go. It's the problem with having a sticky base. I'm not flypaper except for my cat hair. Okay, so we're gonna shake up our foundation and I'm gonna do one pump on the back of my hand. There we go. I'm gonna use my hand as a palette. And again, with my middle finger, I'm just gonna tap that out a little bit so that I'm smoothing it around my knuckle. And in women's foundation application, they start in the center and sweep out because they want most of the coverage to be on the center of the face. That may not necessarily be what you need covering, like it isn't what I need covering. It's this stuff that needs covering, this strip, hashtag half of my face. So to do this with your finger, what you're gonna do is dab your first dab where you want your most coverage, and then subsequent dabs toward the center of the face, so like that. Then you're gonna start tapping over those dots. It's a slap tap. So you're kind of slapping and slightly dragging. And you're just trying to blend that out as far as you can. Okay. Tap. More down here. Tap, tap, tap. And then I'm going to bring that one up to over my brow. Up the side. Now, if you've got hair, this is a lot easier because you can kind of blend it into your hairline. I have to be careful to go around my hairline because the foundation will sort of cling to my hair and look a little wacky. So when we're done with all this, I'm going to take you into natural light so you can see the overall effect in real light. All right, then for my action down here, I'm going to dab a good blob of it right over where I need the coverage. And then just tap along the edges of that to blend it into my neck. And I'm not trying to go with Bookham Dano coverage here. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Need a little bit more through here. Don't forget your ears. I don't know if you are an ear blusher, but I am an ear blusher. So when I get a little revved up or I laugh or I'm embarrassed or whatever, my ears will go beet red. And I still need more coverage over that one. So what I'm going to do is take I'm going to use my pinky finger and take up a very specific amount of it. And then I'm just going to dab it right over it and follow that down. And then with very, very, very light pressure, very delicate, I'm going to tap it out. It's being really stubborn today. We'll come back to it. Don't get hung up in one spot where you're just like, what the hell? So now that we've got one side sort of evened out a little bit more, you can start to see where other things pop out. So I'm quite pinky red here. So we're going to take a good amount right around my mouth and jaw. But if you take a look up close, it's not looking like there's this stuff sitting on my face. It's melded into the skin. Now, I don't usually worry too much about my forehead because I sweat and I wear ball caps quite a lot. So there's no point in sort of putting foundation where your hat's going to be coming on and off and you're going to be sweating and wiping anyway. So I will carry a bit up just so that the focal point isn't here where we're not covered. I'll carry it across my brows kind of thing, but I'll show you that when we get to the, well, we're gonna get to that right now. So now I'm gonna use this brush. So this brush is gonna use quite a bit more product because we need to prep the brush. So I'm gonna do one more pump. One more pump because I drop everything. So with a foundation foundation brush, what you want to do is, I can't do it so low. So I'm going to dip my brush in, get a good blop of it on there, and then I'm going to tap that off onto another part of my hand so that I am literally loading the brush. Then same thing on this side. I'm going to start swiping. And you'll notice this part can go a lot faster. I can get right up under my eyes. And this is the first layer, so I can smush it on. I don't have to be super particular about this. I can just get it where I want it to go for the first pass. And I'll come over the center here with just what's left in the brush now, which isn't a whole lot. But it's enough to knock down that intense sort of pink color that has been happening because I have been manipulating my face. But what you'll notice instantly is this side has a little bit more coverage already, and it's far more even than this side. So that's the only tricky part with your fingers, is to get it blended and even in one coat. So that's why I tend to be a fan of brushes or sponges more. Sponges eat up even more product because they sort of suck up the moisture from the product. So what I'm going to do now is go back in with a little bit more, and on the side that's a little uneven, I'm going to tap over the areas that need the most coverage. Because we're building coverage now. And you can feel when your brush is getting drier. You can feel when the foundation is sort of setting up. And therefore, so now you see that I've got far more of an even application on this side, and it took no time at all. So we've got now fairly balanced application. I'm just gonna go back in with a little bit and add extra coverage up there. And you see I got a little bit in my hairline, so I just follow that down. There's also ways we can camouflage that in a sec. That's pretty dang good, right? So what we've done is just even out the facial tone. Is there a little bit? Maybe a little bit up here. But I haven't put on enough that gets trapped. And there is. So I'm just gonna brush that out. In this case, I don't wanna add more. I'm trying to sweep it out. But knocking it out from inside any little folds that you normally wouldn't see. But it's not sitting in these lines. It's not sitting in this line. And if I look to the side of my nose, it's not collected in there. The veins on the side of my nose are not yet covered, so I want to take a little bit more and go there. I'm just smoothing and then tapping. I hate those veins with a passion. And then I'll just tap over. So once you've done that, then you have the ability to look at your face as a whole and say, okay, do I need any more coverage anywhere, or are we fine? And in my mind, we're fine. I don't think that I've made my skin fair or too light. I don't think that I've made any one part of my face now stand out a little bit more than the other. So I don't really feel the need to worry about things like bronzer. I'll give you a touch of bronzer just so you can see what that looks like. But you really could just go. You're fine. It's already set down. It doesn't have a tacky feel to it. It feels like skin. And that's what we want. So if you've got an itch, you can scratch it. If you're wearing masks, it'll transfer on the mask a little bit, but not terribly. And like you see, I'm just sort of perfected. I don't look like a painted doll. I'm perfected, and that's what we want. So what I'm gonna do now is take you into, I'm trying to think if I need any, do I even need powder anywhere? Nope, I don't. What the hell is that? Am I bugging you on camera? I don't really see the need for powder at all at this point. But with a little bit of bronzer, that is powder. So that will set down your foundation if you choose to use it. Now, where did I put my bronzer? There it is. Right, come with me to the office. Makeup in here. Hi, where are you? There you are. Are you straight? Sorry about that. So yeah, it's way too bright in here. It's a great place to do makeup, but it's way too bright in here for me to be able to do this full foundation because my eyes would be exploding. So as you can see in pure stark daylight, let me get the sun right up in my face. Oh good, it's moved mostly. Here we go. Oh no, you can't see it in the sun. But anyway, you can see here that I don't look weird at all. There is a disconnect somewhat to my chest, but I'm not wearing a shirt yet. So when I do put on a shirt, there's not gonna be any difference. So if you wanted to do bronzer, then this would be toasting the edges. So big fat bronzer brush. And I use the Hoola by Benefit bronzer. I love this. It's just a big pan. So I tap in, knock off the excess, and then I'm gonna tap over the sides of my face. Just like my cheekbones. Across the bridge of my nose. Then this side, same thing. Up the side of the face. Under the eyes, sort of across the broad spots of the cheek. Little on the chin. Little on the forehead. Little on the ears. Bob's your uncle. Done and done. So yeah, that's Foundation 101. I don't know why I said that so aggressively, but that's Foundation 101. If you would like some recommendations on foundations, there are probably a good handful of foundations. Well, I could just tell you what those foundations are, couldn't I? For the lighter side of coverage, MAC Studio Face and Body Foundation is the bomb. It's very fluidy. It is super sheer, light coverage. I would say needs a translucent powder to set because it dries down, but sometimes it can feel a little bit tacky on the skin, especially in the summer. But it has amazing coverage. It would be enough to cover up moderate redness and even out the skin tone without it looking heavy. It also has sort of a nice dewy finish, like really healthy skin finish. The NARS, I think it's Radiant, or it's their tinted moisturizer, is also very good. That does require a translucent powder. This Best Skin Ever by Sephora is fantastic. Why am I blanking on other things? Too Faced, the Born This Way foundation is very good. You need to be a little bit goes a long way with that puppy. But yeah, those are some to get you started. And also when you go to Sephora to talk to a product consultant there, they're going to be able to lead you down roads you didn't even know were possible. So if you are interested in doing that, I think you'll find the process kind of fun. It can be frustrating at times, but I find it mostly fun because it's trying new things, doing new, going on a new adventure. And remember, at the end of the day, it's just makeup, it washes off. So I think that's all I wanted to tell you guys about this. Again, we're going to do this again when I've got my beard back, which is probably going to be about 6 months from now. But we'll do it again when I've got the beard so that I can show you how to apply with a beard and still make it unclockable. And that's it for now. If you've got any questions, need any direction or guidance, please feel free to yammer on in the comments. The engagement really helps the channel, and I enjoy interacting with you. So fire away, ask your questions. I'll do the best I can to answer them to the best of my ability. And other than that, I will be seeing you guys very soon. I'm going to be doing an eye look right after this. So stay tuned for that, and I shall be seeing you soon. Thank you. Peace out.
Saturn is blazing. Saturn spinning through the universe, and Saturn turning you on a nightmare. Saturn spirals through your world. Saturn shaking you to the core, to the ruin. You can't be the you thought you were before. You just can't stop things from hurting. You just can't stop people from flirting. You just can't stop love from emerging. You can't see the power Saturn's exerting.